One of the key concepts in disaster preparedness is emergency communications, or EMCOM or ECOM. In this video, we'll break this concept down into a couple of key components you'll want to consider when thinking about preparedness for you and your family. Emergency communications is only one part of a family's overall preparedness plan. Others include food, water, shelter, and protection. With a channel called Gadget Talk, we're going to focus on comms. I'm going to divide this topic into a couple of separate but related subtopics. These will include local two-way communications, local one-way communications, and long-distance two-way communications. Additionally, we'll stay focused on emergency situations such as natural disasters like severe weather, earthquakes, or man-made or man-assisted disasters such as wildfires. Let's get started. Whether it's a widespread event like a hurricane or a much more localized event such as a tornado, if you're in the middle of it, it's an emergency. Local two-way communications between family members or pre-coordinated groups of friends or neighbors can help direct assistance to folks in need or coordinate follow-up care such as food service or cleanup. Local authorities will be leading this effort, but I'm thinking more about neighbors helping neighbors. I'm also assuming normal communications tools like cell phones will be down or difficult to use due to overcapacity problems. In this situation, small handheld radios, often referred to as HTs or handheld transmitters, will be important. For many folks, the fact that GMRS licenses from the FCC are easy to get and covers the whole family, that means GMRS radios will be part of the mix. These HTs will provide you with a mile or two of range in many situations when talking between two HTs. These can be very effective when coordinating with neighbors and in communities with a larger population of GMRS users. They can be used to pass messages along to someone who can contact emergency services. Here are a couple of examples of some GMRS radios you might want to consider. A couple of Retevis examples here, since they're providing some of the examples for our video today. This is the Alunce brand, the sub-brand of Retevis, the HA1G. I've had this one quite a while, and I really like it. One of the things you'll notice, this is what I would call a full-size handy-talkie. You can get some really small ones that may fit your needs, but in an emergency communications kit, you're going to want a big battery. And so the tiny HTs don't have as big a battery, so in some cases these are perhaps a little bit bigger. But this radio has got all of the GMRS channels. It has the 8 GMRS repeater channels in the higher areas. You can turn it on, change channels with the knob up here. And it's got the typical controls, a menu, move up and down the channels, key in menu shortcuts, and otherwise manipulate the menu, exit the menu, push to talk, some programmable side keys, and that kind of thing. Again, a full review in the playlist. But this one, claim to fame is that it's got an IP67 intrusion or ingress protection score. And one of the clues to that is this screw-on cover over the accessory port. And so you're going to have a programming cable that'll fit there that you can use. And it has 250 channels. It's chargeable via a USB-C outlet. It'll get UHF and VHF receive-only frequencies, the same as the ham version of this radio. It'll receive NOAA weather and FM broadcast. So it's a really pretty good communications device for your EMCOM Go kit, or just having it set aside so that it'll be available to you if you're dealing with an emergency there at home. Now, the next radio in this same category is another Retevis radio. This is the RA89G. This is a fairly new release from Retevis. You see it's about the same size as the HA1G. And it has, again, the menu. You can go, it'll monitor 2 channels at the same time. You switch between them here, up and down, to change channels, or you can key in channels, of course. Again, full review in the playlist. It's got the push-to-talk keys over here, programmable side keys. And this one is not IP67 protected. It'll do well outside. A little bit of water or a little bit of rain is not, in all likelihood, going to hurt this, but it's not one you're going to want to leave out in the rain, or if you're dealing with a really stormy kind of environment, that other radio would be a better choice. The programming is via this K1 connector to your computer, but this radio is different in that it has some Bluetooth connectivity, which will allow you to use your smartphone to program the radio. Otherwise, it's got all of the GMRS channels. It's got the GMRS repeater channels. This one, unlike the Alens, has got air bands, so you could listen to air traffic if you're close by to an airport. And again, it's got 200 channels versus the other radio's 250 channels, and it is rechargeable via a USB-C, which is connected right here on the side of the radio. So this is the RA89G GMRS radio. Several of the examples I'll use in this video will be from Retevis and their sister brand Redicess. Some of these I've purchased over the years, and others Retevis has provided for reviews. I'll have affiliate links to these products in the description below. Focus on the key features. You can find other brands at a variety of price points that are similar. I'll leave a link to my MCOM playlist that has reviews for these and other products on the end card and in the video description below. For someone who's more interested in preparedness than just having a couple of HTs, and since we just talked about repeaters, let's look at a couple of portable repeater options for GMRS. So this is a repeater. It's a portable repeater from Retevis. It's the RT97L. Now, the RT97L is the more expensive of the two repeaters. It comes with a programming cable, power cable that'll run off 12 volts. So a car battery or a LiFePO battery will power this. It's got an antenna connection over here on this side, and then it's really pretty simple to use. You can set any of the GMRS repeater channels up here in the radio. You can assign it to a CT/CSS code, and it outputs. It's rated at 25 watts, although by the time it works through some of the circuitry in the repeater, the actual power coming out to the antenna is closer to 16 to 20 watts, but that's pretty nice. And it is IP66 protected, and so it's going to be able to sit outside under cover in a rainstorm or in a snowstorm. And so you can use this to expand the range. And again, the range expansion is going to come by the fact that you're going to have an external antenna, and normally you're going to tie that up into a tree or mount it on the top of a roof. In a bad scenario, you may not have a roof, so a tree might be the best way to elevate that antenna. But you'd use something like, for example, an Edfong J-pole. The external version is about $50, $60, and you can just tie a rope to it, throw the rope over the limb of a tree, and hoist the antenna up into the tree, and it will work just fine. The other version of this is the RT97S, and it's just a little smaller than this. The screen is in the middle instead of here on the right-hand side, and its primary difference is that it's a little less power. So it has about a 10-watt transmitter in the receiver, and by the time it goes through the duplexer out to the antenna, it'll output in the neighborhood of 5 watts. The power output is important for range, but not nearly as important as having an elevated antenna. Coming in at about $200 less than this one. This is about $540. The RT97S is about $340. The RT97S would be a good alternative for your emergency kit, where you can set the thing up in a hurry to cover more than just the few houses around you, but it'll reach out a mile or 2 or 3, again, especially with that elevated antenna. So a personal portable emergency repeater might be something that you'd want to consider for your emergency comms toolkit. As we move to the local one-way communication subtopic, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel with the notification bell on. I try to publish 2 to 3 videos each month, and you'll be among the first to know when you're subscribed with that notification bell on. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button and feel free to leave a comment. I really appreciate it. When many people think about emergency communications, they immediately jump to the two-way topic we just covered. However, getting information during and just after a disaster from your local authorities and sources like the National Weather Service is just as important. In most cases, this information is obtained from your local AM and FM radio stations. When power is off, a big requirement is having a portable battery-powered radio so you can keep up to date. Here are a few portable radio receivers you might find helpful for your EMCOM toolkit. And it occurred to me as I was working with these radios, when I was growing up, battery-operated radios, there were several of them in the house. And aside from the fact that I've been interested in radios in general, we don't have any. I've got them here for these reviews and some of the things I've done, but just having them stuck around the house like I did when I was a kid, it's not happening. And I suspect that for many of you, that's the case. Having a battery-operated AM/FM radio, which is going to be important in an emergency situation, is something you may have to go out and invest in. So I'm going to be looking at 4 here from Redicus that they have provided for me. And I'm going to go from low price to high price, although the first 3 are priced very similarly. This is the TR618 right here. And right now it's about $45, $46. It has the AM and FM plus shortwave mode. You'll be able to tune the shortwave in there. But again, for emergency use, that's probably not something we're going to be too interested in anyway. It comes with a 120 volt cord, and then it also runs on 3 D-cell batteries, which means you're going to have those D-cell batteries around. Now, in terms of emergency communications, you're probably going to want rechargeable D-cells. And so I have on order some lithium D-cells that are individually rechargeable via USB-C, which means that I can use a power bank, I can use my little solar power USB-C charger to keep these running. You don't want to run out of batteries, and having a radio that's only 120 volt doesn't do you any good in most emergency situations. And so in this case, we'll circle back here to the radio. It sounds really good. When I had a radio station dialed in, I could get the volume up to about half, and it was louder than I wanted to listen to. But it has a nice big speaker, so it has real good sound. The FM sensitivity is good. The AM antenna, as with most of these radios, is a ferrite bar that's buried in the case. And so to tune an AM station, if you can get it, and then you want to make it a little more clear, you just have to rotate the radio itself because that antenna is mounted within the case itself. Now, this radio has a couple of extra features in it that are nice. I've already mentioned the shortwave. The little expandable or telescoping antenna is not going to be the greatest for shortwave, and so you may want to get a long wire antenna with a little alligator clip on it to clip to the end of the telescopic antenna right here. That's one of the ways that you can add sensitivity to your antenna for shortwave. But then this also has a USB outlet if you want to plug in a thumb drive that might have music, a TF card or a micro SD card or a full-size SD card. There are slots here on the side for that just below the tuning knob, as well as a input for a wired headset. I'll do a complete review on this radio a little bit later. This little screen right here is for controlling your music collection that you might have plugged in via that SD card or the USB thumb drive. So that's the TR618, a very good choice. Now, as we move up the price point by dollar, this is on sale now for $47. And this, as you can see, it's a little pocket-sized radio that's easy to keep with you. This radio runs on a rechargeable lithium battery. It's the flat cell phone style batteries from a couple of years ago. I've got several of those laying around the house, so you can get them from Amazon if you want spares. But otherwise, you know, it recharges. There's a USB-C here. It's got room for a micro SD card for music and recording. This will record to the card as well. It has a line in if you wanted to use the speaker from a USB device. I'm not sure why you would do that. And then another 3.5 millimeter plug here for some wired headphones. Now I'll turn this on here. And I've got the volume turned down, but you can move through the radio stations by pressing this. It'll go up by the step amounts and through the channels. This also has the ability to, when you first get it, do a long press on this key right here, and it'll listen for all the radio stations it can find, and it will automatically store them in some of the channels that it has. So that's kind of an interesting capability. And then, of course, if you want to dial in a frequency that you know, you can just type it in. So if we wanted to do a radio station here in the FM band, say 99.9, you just let it linger there for a minute, and then it'll switch to 99.9, and you'll be able to listen to whatever that's coming with. And then it has also a telescopic antenna here on the top. And then you can press the AM/FM button to switch between AM and FM modes. Again, both of these work pretty well. I was able to do better AM reception on the previous radio, but again, this is pretty small. And then the quality of the sound isn't as good because this has just got a little speaker. It's much smaller than the speaker in that larger radio. So just understand what you're getting. And then this will also tune the shortwave bands. And so a press on the SW here will take it up into the shortwave bands. And then by pressing the shortwave button, short presses, it'll move you through the various shortwave bands. You can see up here, it's changing shortwave 3, shortwave 4. And so you can move in, and then you can, of course, just type in a frequency. And this right now is set to step at, zeros or fives in terms of the step. It's, again, looking for the AM stations on shortwave, not single sideband. So again, be mindful that this little radio is not going to pick up single sideband. It will play MP3s, again, through that SD card, and then you can then also record. So if you had a radio station on you wanted to record, you can press record, and it will record to your SD card. The V115 here is this little pocket-sized radio, and it works fairly well. The build quality is smaller, it's less, these buttons move around a little bit, but again, at this price point with these features, it works pretty well. The next radio, as we move up in our price point, is the 604W, and the W stands for weather band. And so this is a 3-band radio. It's got the FM, it's got the weather band, and then it's got the AM. And those are controlled here by this knob. Volume works here, as well as turning the radio on. There's a little click that goes in. And then this low and high is kind of a bandwidth, I think. I found that on low, some of my FM stations come in a little richer, again, because it's got a nice large speaker. And again, the volume, when I had it plugged into a 120 volt outlet, was very loud, so it would easily fill the room with sound. And then the weather band here, you move that to weather, and then you can just search for the weather band that's in your area. Now, for me, the frequency of the weather band here, it's, I think, channel 1 is up here near the 7. And then if you were in some other part of the country, as you scrolled through, if you found a weather station, the one you're listening to is probably for where you are, because their VHF stations in the range is limited. So again, this one, while being a little bit more expensive, primarily because of its ability to tune in those weather bands, has a nice appearance. It has the telescopic antenna to improve FM reception, and then it also has the ferrite bar in the case for AM reception, so rotating the radio to better receive an AM station is going to be the same as with that other radio. Again, this one runs with 3 D-cell batteries besides the 120 volt cord, and so I've ordered some more of those as well. There are a whole bunch of different kinds of those rechargeable batteries on Amazon, so find the one that you want. This would be another choice for you if you need an AM/FM, plus that weather band, which in an emergency situation can be quite handy. Now, the last radio we're going to look at is the most expensive, and it's the most expensive by quite a lot. It's like 4 or 5 times more expensive. It's for sale now for about $260. But this is a very nice, very comprehensive radio for those of you who not only want an emergency radio, but like to play radio in terms of searching shortwave stations and doing all kinds of other radio related things. And so it'll tune up and down. It'll take an aux input. It's got headphones. It's got USB charging. It's got a slot for a micro SD card. The tuning is quite sensitive here using this dial, and then the inner dial for more precise. It will, like the other radios, scan and save channels if you want it to. It's got a couple of antenna options. This bar antenna will help with AM signals. And then you can also then see there's a little switch there that you can turn the antenna off or on. And then there's a SMA male connector there where you can connect an external antenna, like a little loop antenna or a long wire antenna if you have a adapter on the end of it so that you can dial it into this particular radio. And then on the back, you can see here that it's got an antenna tuner switch where you can set it for setting medium wave, which is AM here in the United States, shortwave band 1 or shortwave band 2. And then it's got a 3.5 millimeter plug for an external antenna as well. So there are a couple of ways to do this. And this radio will also tune into the VHF and UHF range. And so, again, it's not just AM and FM and shortwave, but it will allow you to go into the UHF and VHF ranges, set those frequencies in, and then like the previous radio, you can set it to record if you'd like to. And so this is a quite nice radio. I've got a review for this on the channel, and you can take a look at this if you're wanting something a little more complicated, a little more capable, something for radio enthusiast more than just having it in your emergency toolkit. This is the Ereticus TR113. Since the radios we've discussed so far can have USB-C rechargeable batteries, having a renewable charging source is also important. In my case, I have this small folding solar panel with USB outputs built in. This particular model is no longer available on Amazon, but there are several like it to choose from. As an addition to your EmComm toolkit, this allows you to charge your radios without grid-based external power sources. You can lay this out in the sun and either charge your radio or a portable power bank that can then be used to charge your radio later. Okay, so now let's talk about non-local communications for your EmComm toolkit. In this case, there are a couple of alternatives. First, in the radio category, is HF ham radio. For this, you'll need an upgraded general class license in most cases. Using portable antennas, you can use a ham transceiver to reach beyond the affected disaster area. Using tools like WinLink and Vara, you can use HF radios to send email messages through special ham servers to anyone with an email address. The next is a tool that doesn't need a license and is much easier to deal with for non-radio folks. That tool is Starlink. A Starlink Mini can be had for a couple of $100 with low-volume data for $5 a month and normal high-speed data for $50 a month. When using your Starlink, you simply place the receiver on a tripod or even on the ground, and the built-in Wi-Fi router will allow you to make Wi-Fi-based phone calls using your phone, along with all the other things you're used to doing with internet data plans. Of course, for emergency or off-grid use, you'll need a power source. I use an Anker C300 DC solar generator to power my Starlink when I'm out camping. Together with a folding 100-watt solar panel, I'm able to keep it running for much of the day. Even a small device like the C300 can keep a Starlink active for several cloudy days if you schedule specific times to power it on instead of running it all the time. Our last set of devices in the non-local emergency communications category are satellite phones or texting devices. These make sense if you are also an avid hiker or outdoors person who frequently spends time out in the wilderness outside cell phone range. The time for doing your MCOM planning is before the emergency occurs. I hope you found this video helpful in putting together your emergency comms plan and toolkit. If so, please remember to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join me over here for my emergency comms playlist for MCOM related reviews and how-tos. Thanks for watching.